Hello, everyone! Today, I'm going to walk you through the concept of build on our platform, Phinite. Let's get started. Whenever you create an agent graph, you might wonder how to connect this agent graph to a specific integration. For example, you may want to attach only version 15 or 14, but not 16, to your integration. Maybe version 15 for development, 14 for UAT, and 16 for production. So, how do you actually use this feature? Let me explain with an example. Suppose you have a conversational assistant in the Solence use case, and you have two agent graphs. What's the first thing you should do? You need to create an intent. Say you've made one agent graph, or even several, but when a user comes in, how do you decide which agent graph should handle the user's query? This is determined by intents. For instance, if a user says, "I need help with insurance," the system recognizes the intent, which is linked to a specific agent graph. The query is then routed to the correct intent, and the conversation proceeds. Once the defined flow in that intent graph is complete, the conversation will end. That's why creating an intent is essential before you build. Imagine you've set up two intents at this point. Let me show you what goes into an intent. Simply provide a name, an intent phrase, and select the agent graph to trigger when the intent phrase matches a user query. Our system uses an LLM to make smart decisions based on the queries and intent phrases you define. For example, this intent uses a certain phrase and a name, and it triggers a specific ASIN graph. After that, your next step is to publish your tool, whatever tool you have created. You'll also need to set up environment variables for your tools, depending on your environment. When you reach the build phase, all you need to do is click Create Build. Next, select the intents you want, and the system will automatically pick the right flow attached to each intent. Then, choose the tools that your flow requires. Here, you can also select which version of each tool to use. For example, you might need version 3 for one intent and version 15 for another. After creating the build, you can assign it to an environment. The build will use the credentials of the environment you choose. For example, if you pick Dev, the tool will use the development environment settings you've provided. Now that your build is ready, head over to the integration page. Suppose you want to have conversations using a custom chat option. You simply need to click on Add Configuration. Enter your website or application URL. For example, let's use this URL and add it here. With the Workspace Assistant, you can select one or multiple builds. Based on the user's query and the intent defined in the build, it will choose the appropriate agent graph and continue the conversation. Give your configuration a name and save it. Now, copy the script and embed it into your website to start the conversation. If you encounter an invalid origin message, it may mean, "That's it." And there you have it. Sorry about that. All right, let's move on. Let's copy the script again. Specifying the origin is required to make sure only authorized users can access your chatbot on your website. Now, let's try starting a conversation. Sorry, it's still on the default setting. The system will identify the intent and direct the query to the corresponding flow. It will enter the selected flow, recognize, for example, a pre-sale insurance request, and continue from there.